This is being reborn as Sasuke in Konoha Part 4. Hope you guys like it. Chapter 16, V.1C.16 Uchiha Clan Downfall 3. After confirming the deaths of many Uchiha, where the third Hokage said it was everyone, but relieved that she had survived, and her child, Sasuke as well, Mikoto immediately had to step up. I received a letter, stating that someone had managed to evacuate and save all of the children within the Uchiha. Mikoto immediately said right after, not wanting to walk into some trap. It is true that we didn't find many, if any bodies of children, but I doubt that arisen was interrupted. We must check. I have told Lord Third of this letter's information because I wish not to be lured into a trap, where I may be killed. Mikoto stated. Thinking for a bit, Hiruzen answers her concerns. If what you say is true, then I would like to send a few people with you to wherever this hidden location is. Also, I would like to see this letter you have acquired. Handing it over, Mikoto had already read it with the use of her Sharingan, instantly memorizing everything within. My younger son, Sasuke, said he had gotten this from some bird. She informed the third Hokage. Your son. Taking it, he read through it himself, getting a distinct feeling that the letter he had also received is probably in relation to this very event. Most probably from the same sender. He thought before going over Mikoto's letter and going over the letter he received next. I would like to take Kushina with me. Mikoto had no one she trusted more, and the Hokage didn't mind this. That is fine. Within his own letter there were a few things different, especially with the information, given Mikoto had been given the information to the rescued Uchiha members' location. Some and you shall accompany you. Within the location housing the Uchiha children, some women, and a few men, were all civilian in nature. Having been knocked out and kept unconscious until the morning, most of the people here were confused about the situation they were in. What is going on? Where am I? Were the voices of many of the older people, as they started to gather themselves, but the children on the other hand all had to be calmed down by their peers, guardians, temporary or permanent, and their parents, if they were here. There was one person a bit different from the rest however. What happened? The last thing I remember. Flashbacks hit the girl in ninja attire as she was 1 second coming to the Uchiha police force, returning from her basic duties. Then the next thing she knows, she wakes up here with a whole bunch of other people, where they all had the standard Uchiha looks. Black hair, black eyes, but in the clothing of the civilians would be wearing instead. Getting up, the girl looked around for her own family, considering a lot of families had been reunited with each other. Of course, there seemed to be a few children that seemed to be lacking anyone else. There also seemed to be very few other Uchiha ninja here, considering all of the other ninja would still be considered children like herself. This is too strange. The girl had long brown hair, where she had a ponytail in her youth, with bangs framing her face and onyx eyes, with a mole under her right eye. She wore a long-sleeved, high-collared purple shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back, baggy blue pants, a shuriken hostler on her right leg, red armband on her left arm, and a long purple fingerless glove that ran nearly the length of her arm. Izumi, is that you? Mother. The now identified saw her mother, and she immediately hugged her. What happened? Are you okay? Do you know where? Hush now. I was among the first to awake, here. Izumi's mother gave her daughter a letter addressed to Izumi. There seems to have been a problem, and my leaving the Uchiha seems to have isolated me from certain pieces of information. I am afraid. Izumi's mother didn't say any more before nudging her to read the letter, having been too impatient herself and read it. Izumi was the daughter of Hazuki Uchiha. Unlike her mother, Izumi's father was not an Uchiha, and for that reason their family lived separately from the Uchiha clan for the first few years of Izumi's life. During the nine-tailed demon fox's attack, her father died while protecting her. From the grief brought on by his death, as well as feelings of guilt that he would not have died had Izumi been stronger, Izumi eventually awakened her Sharingan. She and her mother afterwards rejoined the Uchiha clan. Reading the letter, Izumi's face went through many changes or emotions, finally settling into a face morphed with confusion, sadness and denial. That can't be. Hello. Another voice echoed out as the civilian Uchiha were now startled to discover someone had found them. Immediately many people started to talk at once, leading to the person who had opened up the light to them all again, to shout over their voices to get their point across. It is all right. You are all safe and everything will be explained. Please come outside one by one. It was in fact Mikoto, whom Izumi knew about due to her being friends with Itakai. Izumi. Hazuki, Izumi's mother woke her up. Come on, we can learn more from Mistress Mikoto. Scrunching up the letter in her hand, still not wanting to believe it, Izumi nodded her head and followed everyone else that was coming out. Izumi was described as a kind and considerate girl for an Uchiha. After her father's sacrifice, Izumi was traumatized and blamed herself. Since then, she decided to live up to her father's example by becoming stronger so she could help others like her father did. Because of this, Izumi never fell into the curse of hatred, unlike the vast majority of her fellow clansmen. Even though she appeared to distrust the rest of her clan like Itakai and Shisui Uchiha, she still had great pride and faith in her clan as she refused to believe an Uchiha would have summoned the Kyuubi to cause such death and destruction that took her father's life. Her desire to help others weighed heavily on her, as she was deeply distressed she wasn't progressing as quickly as Itakai, who she used to measure her abilities against. When Itakai tried to convince her to abandon her goal of helping others because of her innocence and weaknesses, she was visibly hurt. Izumi was deeply in love with Itakai, so much so that she would have accepted Itakai's decision to end her life for the sake of the village, and was grateful to be given the life she wanted with him. Growing old and having kids together, even if it was only a genjutsu. Of course, Izumi had been robbed of her chance to make such a stupid decision, not even being aware of what Itakai had done, until a simple, plain letter described to her the horrors Itakai would have done. All to keep his little brother, Sasuke, safe from the claws of the village. Or did Itakai do this not because of Sasuke, but for the village instead? Izumi would never know unless she confronted Itakai herself. Itakai. Izumi's thoughts lingered there for a bit as she glanced at the women known as Mikoto Uchiha, directing and taking the reins of leadership of the Uchiha. Explaining to the rest of the Uchiha clan was not something Mikoto was expecting to do, but given she is the one whom rescued them without knowing that there was in fact another that did instead of herself, forced her into a position of leadership. Especially since she was the wife of Fugaku, the former head of the Uchiha clan. That damned third Hokage would be of no help here. Mikoto didn't trust the Hokage fully, even after coming to him for help. The only real reason she had done so is due to the fact that the Uchiha are probably safe for the foreseeable future. Given that they had lost any and all power, with near all their ninja dead, it would certainly put a strain on her or anyone else trying to reclaim their lost power. No. It is better to concede and make sure everyone is safe for now. Mikoto had no plans for the future, except to keep her only son left, Sasuke, safe from the claws of Konoha and its manipulative elite. The civilians were confused, and so too were everyone within the rest of the Uchiha forces that actually had no idea about what was going on in regards to their potential revolt. Mikoto kept hidden all of the facts that should be hidden, and with tears nearing to spill from her eyes, had to explain what Itakai had done. Of course, with the aid of the third Hokage, it became believable and a funeral is held for the Uchiha that died. Of course, with this many families it was something akin to a funeral for people that participated in some war. A day of mourning and everything was still not enough for the now saddened, disheartened members of the Uchiha, not understanding why Itakai had done what he had done. This left a few of the Uchiha to grow some type of hatred towards Itakai, but thankfully no one seemed to be against Mikoto or Sasuke in this case, due to Itakai even killing Fugaku. Funny thing, is if even Fugaku had lived, then the Uchiha would most probably start to look at Mikoto and Sasuke with hate as well. Given that they had lost something the same as everyone else, the Uchiha moved on with their lives, trying to get things back to normal. However, their population had dwindled such that there were so few people left. At least the most innocent have been saved. Mikoto thought as she saw everyone, glancing towards one person in particular that seemed intent in wanting to talk with her. Is that Izumi? Mikoto would go on later to follow up with the girl, but right now Mikoto had grown tired. Spending the entire day going through the process of mourning, burial and a whole host of things even after that started to drain Mikoto's mental energy. I thought Sasuke would be somewhat affected, but she had also noticed the state of her youngest son didn't seem to be bad. No tears, but there was at least sadness that sat upon her face. The only thing is, Mikoto is unsure if Sasuke even cared about his father dying, or was much more saddened at the deaths of his fellow clan members. Sasuke. Mikoto spoke to Sasuke at the Uzumaki residence, given she didn't want to exactly return to the Uchiha compound. In fact, the Uchiha district would now be mostly lifeless as many of the Uchiha members would start to be integrated into the village more. On the suggestion of Danza, of course, he wanted the Uchiha to start becoming a part of Konoha instead of being separated. The third Hokage agreed to this suggestion, leading to the dissolution of the Uchiha compound, made especially easy by the fact everyone that were the Uchiha didn't want to live in that district anymore. For now, because of their lowered numbers, the Uchiha would trade in their land and housing to instead be given housing within the village instead. Which, the Hidden Leaf luckily enough has a lot of buildings available, leading to the Uchiha having their own section within the village, instead of being outside. Even thought Sasuke had done well, he noticed that even after saving the Uchiha, a lot of them after staying in the village a while, left. Of course, there are two possibilities as to what or why the Uchiha were leaving, and one of those very reasons included them just not wanting to stay in Konoha anymore, and the other is probably due to Danza's slowly killing of the stragglers, which Sasuke has no power over to stop them. You can't save everyone. Sasuke of course wanted to do something more, but there was nothing more he could do for them except help them avoid the most dangerous night for their lives. Within a month's time, most of the Uchiha had left the village, leaving only Sasuke, Mikoto and a few others, which no doubt is the result Danza wanted. Damn. Danza not only benefits in terms of retaking the land from the Uchiha, but also benefits via having their spirit broken. The village obviously had no way or reason to keep the land, so Sasuke had to slightly nudge his mother into going back towards their home. Obviously this land is unimportant now, and believed to be cursed due to this tragedy, but that doesn't mean it would be completely useless. It would be after that month, Sasuke and Mikoto would move back into their house within the Uchiha compound outside the village. Completely useless. The Uchiha compound would just be left and any chance are trying to sell off the land, that no one would want, would instead default and go back towards the Uchiha. Specifically Mikoto, whom had now become the leader of a rather pathetic amount of clan members. Mistress Mikoto. A voice spoke, awakening Sasuke from his thoughts as he saw a girl. Izumi. Yes. Mikoto walked from behind a wall and saw the girl as well. Right. Please, come in. Comment. 21 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 17, V.1c.17 Uchiha Clan Ashes Izumi. Sasuke thought as he glanced at his older brother's love interest, still living. She must be here for that then. Sasuke of course was the one whom sent those letters to every individual that would be important to ensuring the Uchiha survive in not just himself. Yes. Mikoto walked from behind a wall and saw the girl as well. Right. Please, come in. Izumi entered, looking around and spotting Sasuke. She moved towards him seeing that Mikoto seemed to be busy with something. Izumi tried to smile, but it was strained even now, considering her feelings for Itakai and Sasuke's resemblance to him. Hello, Sasuke. Izumi said as she got closer. Hi. Sasuke replied neutrally, not knowing she acted close with him. I have interacted with you before, but that doesn't mean we are close. What are you doing? Izumi asked. Nothing in particular. Sasuke answered. There was a small stretch of silence as Izumi seemed to be stumped by Sasuke's antisocial demeanor. Well, I guess he kind of takes after Itakai. Izumi thought to herself, believing Itakai had been an influence enough to where Sasuke had minimal expression himself. Why are you here? Sasuke asked her, breaking Izumi from her thoughts. Oh. I am just here to talk with your mother. Izumi replied, and Sasuke regarded her in a manner that sort of made her uncomfortable. What is he thinking? For Sasuke seemed to be capable enough to see right through her. Sasuke. Okay then. I will be going to train then. Getting up, Sasuke started to leave, which kind of made Izumi sigh a breath of relief. Wait. Was I just intimidated by a kid? Izumi had no reason to be, but for some reason her senses were telling her that there seemed to be something more to Sasuke. Watching him leave through the front door, it would only be a few minutes later that Mikoto would come back. I am finished. Oh. Where did Sasuke go? Mikoto asked her. He said he is going to train. Izumi regained her composure easily enough, now feeling a bit uncomfortable facing Mikoto. Right. Now, what is it that you wanted to talk about? Mikoto sat down, and Izumi sat down as well, where both of them were facing each other. I have put it off until now, but I believe that it is time that I reveal this. Izumi pulled out the letter given to her by her mother, and handed to Mikoto. I received this. So, Izumi explained her own thoughts on this letter, her own conclusions, reasoning behind Itakai's attack on the Uchiha and her suspicions regarding this mysterious benefactor. Izumi would then continue before she started to lay bare her emotions and what she felt as of this moment, and before. From Izumi still having a hard time adjusting to her new life, where people show these looks of sympathy or pity, which she disliked, to the way her friends had started to treat her within the village, and most of all, her own conflict of emotions regarding Itakai. After all, having some time to come down from the high of love, she is able to put things into perspective. What Itakai had done was undeniable, with concrete proof coming from the higher-ups of the Hidden Leaf itself, but also from within as well. After all, not everyone was rescued straight away from the slaughter, having witnessed a few things before being knocked out and taken away. Still, what I want to find out is the identity of the person that managed to anticipate Itakai's moves and save a lot of people, even if in the end it only resulted in a few Uchiha staying within the village. Izumi thought to herself, having concluded her conversation with Mikoto, or at least her report on things. And what is it you wish to do? Mikoto finally asked, after having taken the time to take in the information provided and read through the third letter from this mysterious person. Wait, that is not right. This would be the fourth letter, wouldn't it? Mikoto had been informed by the third Hokage that there was a letter 3 years prior to events now that matched the same style. A letter that helped the Hyuga clan from getting into huge trouble with Kumogakyo's treaty with Konohagakyo. I want to be able to investigate the identity of this individual. Izumi said with some passion, knowing that finding this person may lead to her getting the answers she wanted. The Hokage and a whole other lot of people from within have also tried to track this person down, but have been unable to do so. What makes you think you could do so? Mikoto didn't want to send the girl down a path that would possibly lead to a dead end. No one else had even made anything past the initial investigation into this information-gathering expert. My motivations for doing this should be clear, but what I want most of all is some closure. Itakai, he has left and become a rouge ninja, leaving behind and killing everyone possible. And from what I understand, if I or many others had not been saved, he would have very likely killed myself, and you, Lady Mikoto, as well. Izumi stated. Pondering for a small bit, Mikoto then says. If you believe you can do better, I will not stop you. Neither will anyone really, considering this mystery individual is someone that not really a secret. I do believe however, your duties as a ninja may come first above this. I will put in a word to the Hokage to allow you access to some materials. In fact, I have recently gotten myself reinstated as a ninja myself. Mikoto continued, surprising Izumi at her words. What? I will take you on as my apprentice. I also wish to find this person, and you will need some training past what you have right now. Mikoto again continued, further shocking Izumi. Of course, that is if you wish to take me as your teacher. Oh, of course not. I would be honored. After this turn of events, Izumi would probably become a regular within the Mikoto and Sasuke household. But what about Sasuke? She asked, slightly confused at this declaration due to her still being a mother to a relatively young child. You don't have to worry about that. I have a friend that can help me out, but most importantly I wish to not involve Sasuke in this hunt. Itakai, he is not the priority for this mission, instead we will be focusing on this mysterious person. Yes. Izumi knew that Itakai is not a priority at all, and in fact she did not want to see him at all, given all that has happened. Even just coming before Mikoto was a struggle enough, but she pushed through wanting answers. Even more important is a piece of information that I must inform you of. It is of great importance such that there are only a very small amount of people know about within the village, pertaining to the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Mikoto said, further confusing Izumi. Are you talking about Naruto Uzumaki? Izumi questioned, given that most ninja at this point knew about Naruto being the Jinchuriki, something Kushina was unable to stop. Yes and no. In fact, it includes Sasuke. Mikoto activated her Sharingan, analyzing and making sure the area is safe. She continued. Sasuke is also the Jinchuriki for the Nine Tails, as half of the Kyuubi is sealed in Naruto, while the other half is sealed in Sasuke. This conversation led to many things being disclosed, and the relationship between the teacher, Mikoto, and the student, Izumi, becoming closer. Forming a connection of trust. The ashes of the Uchiha, as the corpses of those dead had been collected and buried, represented the end of a powerful clan. A powerful group of ninja within the village, which in on itself could have provoked a war against Konoha due to losing such a decisive force of people. A lone boy within some woods was hitting the ground until their knuckles started to bleed. Damn it. Despite what Sasuke put up on front, he felt a lot of anger at his failure, that most would not consider as such. But, Sasuke had been proven in his decision to trust the hidden leaf that they are even more incapable of defending the innocent. Stopping, Sasuke saw that his flesh started to remold, healing within a few seconds as he tapped into the Kyuubi's chakra. My control over the Kyuubi's seal is getting better. As Sasuke's knowledge and experience with sealing techniques increased, so too did his ability to manipulate the seal on himself. I can meet the Kyuubi anytime I want, but I don't really respect what the Kyuubi is or any of the other tailed beasts. Sasuke sympathized with these beings, sure, but that didn't stop his ambitions from overpowering whatever feelings of empathy he may share with these beings. Coexistence is cool and all, but they are still a liability. Sasuke had another plan in regards to the tailed beasts. If what I am thinking of is possible, then I will go through with it, even if the tailed creatures are destroyed in the process. Having succeeded in his plans, but still managing to lose, Sasuke decided to stop worrying so much about others at this point. Focusing on himself will come first and foremost. At least that is the plan, but I have no idea if I might act up and act the hero. Going through some exercises, Sasuke started to notice his body had already adjusted to the level of gravity he was currently under, so he decided to increase to further strain himself. It even affected his internal organs, making them more resilient, which may seem ridiculous, but the people of this universe have access to something as overpowered as chakra. A person doesn't even need any bloodline limit to further enhance themselves and become powerful, instead only needing chakra in on itself to truly achieve greatness. Really tells me just how silly this whole world is as a whole. Not only is it silly, but also dangerous as well. Whatever, let's get back to my training. Sasuke pushed himself harder and harder, abusing the Kyuubi's chakra as a way to become more and more powerful, faster and quicker. Made much more easier by the fact that he understood and is able to control the 8 trigram seal way more than he was able to. Now that I think about it, Fugaku in the manga, stated as by Obito said Fugaku organized and planned the coup d'etat. However, from the anime it was stated that he did not plan it, but as the head of the Uchiha clan, he had no choice but to go along with their decision. However, he opted for an option that would satisfy the Uchiha clan and lead to the least bloodshed. To this end, he asked Itakai to help him take over the seat of Hokage by force as well as kept his main Gekyo Sharingan hidden. But from what I understood of Fugaku in this life, he most certainly should have been the one to instigate and organize it. Sasuke landed many of his kunai on their targets, even without the Sharingan as his visual acuity would have made it easier. This time, Sasuke called forth many shadow clones that proceeded to do many exercises in relation to chakra or jutsu themselves. All and any physical training he did of course was handled by his original body, given shadow clones are unable to help him in this regards, other than being good jutsu dummies. Via the Sharingan, Sasuke had managed to learn so many jutsu just sneaking himself and activating as many times as he could. The training grounds in particular were an easy way to get what he wanted, but also while he was still younger he was able to scoop up techniques that he probably shouldn't have gotten. Like the Yamanaka clan's techniques. That gives me a reminder. While I may not be able to benefit much from the techniques of the Aburam clan, I can benefit off of the techniques and styles from the Inuzuka clan. I could even get myself my very own little puppy pet. Sasuke thought that sounded nice, and he is sure that he could get one, if only because he could use his current position in life to his advantage and move his way into the heart of the current leader of said clan. If a sad-looking 7-year-old, whose whole world came crashing down but a month ago. I wonder if I could use this image to my advantage. Of course, I can also pose as Kiba's friend as well, further strengthening the possibilities of getting what I want. Sasuke laughed to himself as he finished off his move set against the rather stale, unmoving targets. Doing the shadow clone jutsu once again, he makes many more of himself appear. Okay, you guys know what is coming next, right? Yes. Many of the Sasuke clones replied, all with the very same face but nonetheless got into the ready positions. And now for my moving targets, myself. Comment. 19 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 18, V.1C.18 Uchiha Clan Ashes 2. From the ashes, rises the phoenix. Or supposedly it goes like that, where upon death, something great rises from its ashes. Reborn and remade anew, just as Sasuke had experienced himself, the Uchiha would have to once again deal with their new position at the bottom of the barrel. Well, not actual bottom of the barrel considering their capabilities, current funds and having more than just Sasuke to rebuild the clan, it can be considered way better than what it could have been. A summary of the Uchiha would be something like this. The Uchiha clan is one of the 4 noble clans of Konohagakure, reputed to be the village's strongest because of their Sharingan and natural battle prowess. After helping found Konoha decades ago, the Uchiha grew increasingly isolated from the village's affairs, culminating in most of their deaths during the Uchiha clan downfall. Where few Uchiha now survive into the present day. The Uchiha are descendants of Indra Otsutsuki, the elder son of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Through Indra, the Uchiha inherited Hagoromo's eyes, granting them powerful spiritual energy and chakra. As part of the so-called curse of hatred first displayed by Indra, Uchiha are subject to powerful emotions. These emotions typically start as love for a friend or family member that then become overpowering hatred when the object of their love is lost. This loss, whether actually experienced or merely threatened, awakens an Uchiha's Sharingan. It is due to the Sharingan that the Uchiha have received much of their fame and notoriety. Sasuke would disagree with the name of the Uchiha's curse however and instead would rather refer to it as a curse of passion instead. Taking everything into account, Sasuke had to start looking at things from a monetary perspective, knowing full well that the finances of the survivors would be chaotic in nature. Sasuke of course had not showed his talent in regards to being a ninja to Fugaku, but that doesn't mean he didn't show skills in other areas that may have gotten the man to be otherwise happy. However, the bastard still didn't think I was good enough. I am just surprised the original Sasuke didn't dislike the man some more, but I also guess that my own actions contribute towards his distancing from myself. Sasuke thought as he was sitting within his room, mostly unchanged. Now there was a proper desk for him to sit at and start doing other things. Specifically looking over many documents, where he had been building up what he is known for, to make it easier for people to see him as some sort of business-savvy person. After all, I always liked money. Money, money, money. Sasuke imitated the voice of Mr. Krabs within his head as he thought that. Even still, Fugaku didn't seem to care much for what I seemed to be interested in. Looking over the documents some more, the land under the Uchiha name, or more specifically now under Mikoto's care before his own due to his age and having not become a ninja yet in leading to him being emancipated. The most important things to take note of is what the Uchiha has under its control currently, that being the current district under the ownership of the Uchiha. Which is kind of useless right now, but this may be able to be used later on. There is an old Uchiha clan hideout, but that doesn't matter much and shouldn't help in allowing Sasuke to make more money. At least not right now. Then there is Soraku. A seemingly abandoned city. The Uchiha clan stored munitions within the city and left someone in charge of the place. I guess this may be of use, but from the reports Soraku is said to be inhabited by a group of black marketers who sell any weapons that have been banned everywhere else. Sasuke read and read. Like any community of sufficient size, other services are offered within the city in order to provide basic needs to these black marketers, though even those businesses tend to deal in their own sorts of rare goods. Of course, next would be the Naka Shrine. Sasuke said to himself. A shrine that the Uchiha clan originated from. It's located in Konohagakure's Uchiha district, and is the home to the clan's patron deity. In the main hall, beneath the 7th tatami mat from the far right, is a secret meeting place of the Uchiha clan. There stood a stone monument which contains the clan's secrets and can only be read with the specific dojutsu, Sharingan and its evolutions. This is not going to be of much use, but I see this place becoming some sort of tourist attraction of sorts, maybe. Of course, Sasuke had no way of knowing how to commercialize things properly, considering he was not even that educated in matters pertaining to making money through creating a business. Doesn't matter, I can learn along the way. The last place is the Uchiha Senbei, a shop affiliated with the Uchiha clan that sold senbei within Konohagakure. The closely guarded secret recipe of the senbei gave the shop its fame. It was owned by Chiaki Uchiha and his wife Uruchi, until they both were killed by Itakai. The shop was abandoned after its owner's deaths. Meaning that I could start here, but would have to hire people to start working here. Starting in the food industry should be hard, considering the many people that also sell food, but it is a start. Already deciding to use this place, Sasuke threw the idea of using it himself to the back of his mind. There was just no way he would be capable of managing it properly, not without giving up some of his time. So I will get some employees for this matter, and I will double check if this place has been inherited by the Uchiha clan. If not, I am sure I could use some of the funds I happened to acquire via inheritance should be enough to buy it. The location is good enough to start up again, and hiring some people would take off the pressure of finding people to keep up with the store. In fact, once revenue is being made, I can start spending funds more, going into creating some sort of group, based around myself of course, to start investing into stores. One such store on mind may, or may not be the Ishiraku's ramen shop. I am most definitely doing that because of that I am girl, most definitely not. Must not think with lower brain, and must think with the upper one after all. After checking and analyzing everything, Sasuke had immediately factored in all equations, further going ahead and planning out what needed to be done. All that is left now is to start making money, which he hardly needs any permission from his mother, due to the fact she has now become a ninja again. Her attention taken up on other activates, even though it is only kept within the village itself, due to Sasuke and the very nature of what her sole mission has become. After taking care of the financing, future investment planning and an assortment of documents, Sasuke would start the next process he does during the night. Meditation. Sasuke didn't need to get into any uncomfortable, or even comfortable position to start meditating, even being able to lay down on his bed and enter this state of being. He had been practically doing this since day one, meaning he has had all the time in the world to develop his mental stability as much as he could. In fear of the curse of hatred itself, Sasuke knew that to overcome such things he would need a way to at the very least this flaw. Thus giving birth to this method, imperfect as it was until he managed to understand more through copying the Yamanaka clan's techniques. In on itself, the method is not a very effective method to practice controlling one's chakra, but it does slowly increase one's control. Instead, what one most benefits from this activity is a sort of self-reflection within their thoughts, where their innermost emotions are brought forth. Whether it be their inner conflicts or things otherwise connected to one's mind or spirituality. While Sasuke had been practicing and balancing his innate physical condition as young as he could, his mental conditioning is even harder to create something of substance. Sasuke didn't exactly like this sort of training, especially once reviewing things within, but it was something he needed to do to affirm himself, his life, his ambitions and what he has done. Even more so, Sasuke had tried to recreate a method of categorizing and accessing one's memories through this method. The Sharingan in on itself allowed him perfect visual memory, but what he wanted is something more. Which, in combination with the methods or techniques developed by the Yamanaka, generated a sort of new mind, or yin-related technique. Yin style, in a world was the technique's official name, upon which Sasuke was able to utilize and transform his mind in a way that enabled enhanced perception. In regards to sound, smell, taste and touch. Even his base level of sight should start to reach a level that even without the Sharingan, he would still be able to remember everything he sees, extending to all his other senses as well. Not exactly increasing the abilities of one's perception, just enabling the mind or senses to gain perfect memorization. Outside of some store that seemed to have gone over some slight renovations, there happened to be a few people present. Of course, there was a lot of others around, just they were interested in other things going around. Some young men and women were present, as it would be today that a new shop was going to be opened up, but before that, this establishment would be hiring some workers. What used to be emblazoned as a sign that showed its affiliation to the Uchiha had now been taken down and replaced. Going from Uchiha Senbei to Paper Fan Bank, now under the newly established group known as Paper Fan Assistants. Of course, if one was smart enough, they would immediately be able to tell that the new name, Paper Fan Assistants, is in fact connected to Sasuke, for putting his name together, Uchiha, Paper Fan, and Sasuke, help, or assistant, would come up to something similar. However, that is not the reason these relatively young people had come to this store in look for some work, with a few others also interested but not intending to get involved, is due to the products going to be sold. It had been going around for a while now, but the shop had been rebranded because of one young master having minimal ability to cook, due to focusing on training, and instead decided that it would be a better investment to start up with another idea in mind. Frankly, Sasuke had not really heard about anything like a bank in this world. I mean, banks are such a great idea in my previous world, so why can I not find something equivalent here? Sasuke had thought to himself, before also coming to the realization that there are absolutely no ways for the common populace to really protect themselves against theft. So, I have given out job notices about wanting people in specific that can do jobs that most people would not consider too much. Sasuke said, having brought in the prospects. Of course, they are confused as the one in charge is a child, but Sasuke's next words put their doubts to the side. Don't worry. I am not the one that is currently managing everything. This was a bit of a white lie, given Mikoto had been taken up with another endeavor to even care for most of Sasuke's activities. It was already hard enough trying to juggle everything as the Uchiha head within the ninja politics, but she also had her own goals as well, which used to include taking care of Sasuke, but she quickly realized she just doesn't have the power to do so. So she had started to gain power herself, for Sasuke. Here is the rundown of our business. I know most people would not want to be unprotected, especially in regards to their financial wealth, so I know the Uchiha has come up with a way to ensure they are safe. Sasuke went on to further explain what the concept of a bank is, and how it would work to generate income. Some people left even after hearing about it, but Sasuke doesn't care too much about this, given he only needs the bare minimum to get off the ground. Sasuke and the Uchiha had more than enough money to start loaning out themselves, and once the concept of this system starts to be understood, soon enough people would place their trust in the Uchiha's system. Of course, I have planned how I shall protect my own valuables, alongside the valuables of others. Sasuke internally cackled, as his scheme to become rich is coming together. Creator's thoughts. Link_ID. Sorry if the story is slow. Comment. 13 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 19, V.1C.19 Uchiha Clan Ashes 3. Seals are a magnificent thing, and Sasuke would always wonder why the people don't use it more for the convenience of its capabilities. From the ability to store things in some kind of other dimension, keeping them perfectly fine, to manipulating space-time in a manner that allowed somewhere to instantly teleport, and all sorts of other fun things. Like explosions. But that is not what Sasuke wanted for the banking business he was starting to make, given that he had put it under his mother's name, given that he would inherit full ownership after he achieves full ninja status and becomes emancipated. A bank is a financial institution licensed to receive deposits and make loans. Banks may also provide financial services such as wealth management, currency exchange, and safe deposit boxes. However, there is no such thing as a bank, at least anywhere that Sasuke could tell, so this is to be taken advantage of. There are several different kinds of banks including retail banks, commercial or corporate banks, and investment banks. In most countries, banks are regulated by the national government or central bank. Again, something completely and freely unregulated due to the nature of the world Sasuke is within, but that won't stop him from, again, taking advantage of this flaw. And given the current level of technology, I have more than enough ideas, ways, and methods to further make this process perfect. All thanks to sealing techniques. The next thing to do after renovating the Uchiha shop that Sasuke had access to and creating the bank, Sasuke looked inward. Specifically towards the Uchiha district that had basically become a ghost town. Nonetheless, Sasuke had made sure to put in some thought into this, knowing full well that he would need to be careful in what he does next. What the Uchiha would turn into from here would depend on the numbers and Sasuke's vision. Paper fan bank is a means to make money, and Sasuke likes money. However, it is only a means to an end. Specifically to make more money. Sasuke was walking towards the academy building, having to spend his time here where it is kind of pointless. Because he can make connections, where one in particular he wishes to abuse today. Sasuke. Naruto called out towards Sasuke, whom had just arrived. You have come early. Some things never changed and it seemed like Naruto's penchant for trouble hadn't abated even with his mother around. That is because I have decided I wish to defeat you. I have copied your routine in coming early, this taking a step closer to beating you. Naruto exclaimed, full of energy. Believe it. Sighing internally, Sasuke didn't want to deal with this idiot right now. Not that Naruto is an actual idiot, just that his behavior is idiotic in nature. Just go to class already. Sasuke at this wanted nothing more than to just graduate already, but that would not be helpful in his future endeavors. His plan to leave the village had not worked out as soon as he was enrolled in the academy earlier than he had expected. Damn Fugaku. Having been a month already, Naruto had at first been sympathetic with Sasuke, but soon enough started to act normal again. Going inside, Naruto the hyperactive knucklehead goes off to do his own thing, having become bored at just waiting for the class to start. Sasuke on the other hand waited patiently for his target to arrive and come into the classroom. Sasuke. Another voice called, that of a more feminine tone and most certainly of an annoying tone as well. Coming in, Sasuke is not surprised by the person whom came in to be Sakura. Sasuke. She seemed unable to say what she wanted. Do you need something, Sakura? Sasuke asked, admitting that Sakura has potential given what she accomplished ever since his changes started taking place. Rather than being physically incompetent, Sakura was developing her body rather nicely. Again, thanks to the words Sasuke spoke when asked about his ideal type of girl. Something along the lines of, intelligent, physically fit and healthy. Skilled enough to defend themselves, and not need to rely on myself. Skilled enough to look after themselves, with their own source of income. With this set of requirements Sasuke was able to direct most of the girls that are interested in him into doing things that would make them into their better selves. Or at least enable them the ability to be actual people living in an actual world. No. Of course not. I just wanted to say hi. Sakura said as she tried to grab a seat next to Sasuke. Okay then. You are lucky to be first. Because Ino also was just as fangirlish as Sakura is, especially with her having known him even before Sakura, and again, being influenced by Sasuke just like every other girl that had some crush. Thank you, Sasuke. Sakura took her seat next to Sasuke. When she was an academy student, Sakura succeeded through studying alone to the point of pride, able to avoid physical trials and thus allowing her to focus on her physical appearance in a bid to appeal to Sasuke. At least that is until Sasuke said those words at the start, which may seem weird coming from a child Sasuke, but necessary to make sure Sakura doesn't become a burden in case she is put into the same team as Sasuke. Class started later on, which was quite a boring experience, especially since Sasuke had decided to just sit through with everything and become acquainted with school life in the Shinobi world. After studying here for near 2 years now, this world's education standard is really strange, or at least the basic stuff that civilians would need for jobs doesn't seem to be overly present. Sasuke thought to himself, as Iruka, the teacher continued talking about history, or something similar. Glancing over the classroom, Sasuke was able to sense everything. From Hinata's stare from the back, to Ino's glare at Sakura throughout the day and even Naruto, whom also had a look of jealousy as his current crush, Sakura, was entirely focused on both her work and Sasuke. Her ability to multitask is quite something at least. The academy is a huge building in Konohigakure located directly at the base of the Hokage mountain. It is where prospective ninja are trained and where official ninja receive their assignments. It was founded by the second Hokage out of military necessity. The academy is quite large and is comprised of several buildings which were erected over time. The building can be identified by the tree in front of it which has a swing on it and more so, by the giant sign with the kanji for fire on it. Classrooms in the academy are large and have high ceilings, based on a theory that larger classrooms lead to expansive education, expanding even to the blackboard itself. In front of the blackboard is a podium, situated far from the students' desks and put in a position where the teacher can view everyone at once. Funnily enough, there were even requirements to enter the academy as well. Love the village and hope to help preserve peace and prosperity. Have a mind that will not yield, able to endure hard training and work. Be healthy in mind and body. With all three of these conditions met, Sasuke or anyone for that matter was able to join. As with any school, students are taught a core curriculum of reading, writing, mathematics, science, geography, and other things. These lessons are typically framed in a ninja context, and in fact are learned at all in order to facilitate later instruction in tactics and strategy. Students learn the shinobi rules, how to strengthen their minds and bodies, and receive special lectures from veteran shinobi. They are taken through the handling of ninja weapons and tools, like shuriken and kunai, learning how to throw and wield them through target practice, as well as instructed on the basics of trap setting. Academy students are also taught about chakra and how to use it, hand seals. Shinobi classes can be broken into the basic levels of taijutsu classes, ninjutsu classes, genjutsu classes and extra classes in particular for the girls. Taijutsu classes serve as the Ninja Academy's equivalent of physical education. In Taijutsu class, students are engaged in physical activities to help train their bodies and develop their stamina. Sparring is common. Ninjutsu classes provide the bulk of what potential ninja learn at the academy. Students are taught about chakra, how to manipulate it and use hand seals, and ultimately how to use techniques such as the transformation technique and the clone technique. Genjutsu classes are focused less on how to create illusions and more on how they function. Students are taught how to determine if they are trapped within a genjutsu, and then how to release themselves from it. Girls must attend kunoichi classes, where they are taught about other cultures and how skills such as flower arranging will help them to blend in during an infiltration mission. Silly, but I guess there is some point in this. However, I do believe that these classes shouldn't just be for girls but also the boys as well. Having extra knowledge on the culture of others would certainly help in diplomatic situations. So, it is a good thing I have already started to expand my knowledge into these areas already. Sasuke thought to himself, ignoring the teacher and everyone else that may be throwing their glances his way. He had many things to do, and would not be wasting too much time in enjoying his childhood. I will not regret this. I think. After the academy had finished, Sasuke had to have some words with the three girls interested in him, Sakura, Ino and Hinata, before proceeding to his target. Hey, dog breath. Sasuke said. Ha. And what do you want, pretty boy? The ever-aggressive Kiba replied with his own taunt, which didn't affect Sasuke. I want to have a ninken. I was wondering if it was possible for me to get one from your clan. Sasuke said, getting straight to the point. For you? Never. Kiba responded, exclaiming his disagreement. I don't need your approval, you idiot. That is fine. I think that I should ask your mother myself, and also tell her about some of your more unsavory behaviors displayed here in the school. Sasuke threatened Kiba, which immediately one could see the effects. Kiba's face went pale as he imagined the beating he would get. Why you wouldn't? I would. Now, are you going to help me get a ninken, or not? Sasuke smiled a smile that would have wooed any of those fangirls, but instead, for Kiba that smile was like that of Yama, the king of hell. Maybe I should also inform your elder sister as well. I do hear that she is rather vicious. Okay. I will help you. Kiba deflated, not wanting to face the consequences of his actions, and having been successfully blackmailed, Kiba decided to help out Sasuke in exchange for keeping his secrets secret. Good. Sasuke finished, slinging his arm around Kiba and pulling him along to where his clan's compound would be located. I would try for the insects and insect-based techniques from the Aburam as well, but I remember the process is only done when one is recently born. How unfortunate. But at the same time, Sasuke was not so inclined to the idea of creating some sort of symbiosis with some insects, whereupon they would live underneath skin his. Yeah, it is no wonder Shino is quiet a lot of the time. Sasuke continued on his way, with many other children looking at Sasuke all of a sudden acting chummy with Kiba in a strange light. The girls in particular were jealous of his attention, which no doubt, Kiba would be receiving some glares himself the next day. Come on man. At least don't provoke your horde of fangirls to attack me. Kiba cried internally, knowing that he would likely have hell to pay the day after. Kami. Please save me. The Inuzuka clan or Inuzuka family is a family of shinobi in Konohigakure known for their use of ninken as fighting companions and are easily identified by the distinctive red fang markings on their cheeks. The members are given their own canine partner or partners when they reach a certain age. Thereafter, the shinobi and their dog or dogs are practically inseparable. The shinobi and canine allies fight using cooperation ninjutsu, such as the fang passing fang or fang rotating fang techniques amongst others, that take advantage of their teamwork and their sharp claws and teeth. The clan members are also able to communicate with canines even if, unlike Kiromaru, the dogs cannot talk. The members of this clan, much like their canine partners, have greatly enhanced senses, especially their sense of smell. By concentrating chakra to their noses, this sense is amplified to an even greater extent, allowing the user to be able to detect, track and monitor targets from a fairly long distance away. The clan's fighting style primarily revolves around their enhanced speed, strength and agility granted by the four legs technique and other canine-based attacks, in conjunction with the tactical advantages granted by their heightened senses. Time to get me a dog. Comment. 20 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 20, V.1C.20 lull. And that is how I have this ninken now. Sasuke finished as he had come home with a small pup within his arms, right towards Mikoto, whom seemed confused. So Sasuke of course had to explain just what he had done. You wanted a ninken, so you went and got yourself one? Mikoto asked, her face incredulous. Yes. Sasuke nodded his head, as the puppy also seemed to understand as well, nodding its head up and down in tune with Sasuke. It is a she, and her name is Shio. Again, Sasuke's naming sense was not really shining through here, but it at least fit the puppy as it was colored white. Its fur completely like snow. Right. Mikoto nodded her head slowly as Sasuke just entered the house after that, nonplussed about the whole thing. Wait just a minute. I know Kuro went missing and all a year ago, but to have another pet. Mikoto didn't want to have to be the one to look after it. After all, she looked after Kuro due to Sasuke being too young to do so. But I do guess he is smart enough, given he is now handling the finances, so I guess it is all right. Right. Mikoto thought to herself as Sasuke turned around with a puppy-eyed technique. Why you wouldn't let me keep her? Sasuke's voice certain dripped with sadness. Ha. Of course you can, keep it. Mikoto caught herself, but she had already said it. Thanks, mother. Sasuke carefully hugged Mikoto as he brought the puppy to hug Mikoto as well. Right. She patted Sasuke's head before he zoomed off into his room, doing who knows what. Did I really just give into that? Now I realize why Kushina allowed me in on her secret all those years ago when Sasuke attached to her. Mikoto certainly couldn't laugh that off now, as this was the first time Sasuke had managed to pull the wool over her eyes. I will make sure that doesn't happen again. I have to be strict in important matters after all. Of course, Mikoto didn't fully believe herself capable of escaping that technique. Maybe. Day after day, week after week. Sasuke had been going to the academy, working on rebuilding the Uchiha from the ground up, and instead of merely being focused on stuff that is of the shadow world of ninja, Sasuke had dedicated some time to researching the world in general. From all of the lands, named after an element or other names based on cultural and geographical context, Sasuke managed to get a basic grasp on the cultures outside of Konohigakure. Outside of the Land of Fire, whereupon Sasuke had started plans to expand this banking business across the entirety of the Land of Fire at the very least. The Land of Fire is one of the largest and most powerful countries seen, and is the home of the main characters of the series. Its government leader is the Fire Daimyo. The Land of Fire was the first country to adopt a ninja village, Konohigakure, a custom other countries would soon adopt. The Land of Fire is appropriately oriented towards the element of fire, typically having very bright and warm weather. While not the physically largest country, it has the largest hidden village. The Land of Fire has been involved in wars with the Land of Lightning, the Land of Earth, and the Land of Wind. In the quiet years that followed, the Land of Fire slowly recovered, and became accustomed to peace. This was seen as a weakness by other countries, which had been working to increase their military power, and is one of the factors that brought about the Konoha crush by Otogakyo and Tsunegakyo. On the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Sound sits the Valley of the End, a large rift formed shortly after the founding of Konohigakyo by the first Hokage and Madara Uchiha. All of this land, relatively not used to the greatest extent, Sasuke planned to take advantage of. Paper Fan Bank started off in Konoha, but that didn't mean it couldn't start to include other villages, towns and cities of greater importance. Starting off small, taking care of the finances of the civilians at first due to the inherent distrust Ninja held to something like the bank, Sasuke didn't mind or care. When it came to workers, he also didn't mind who his workers are, as long as he could control them somewhat. One might be thinking, control them. But this is the shinobi world after all, and even though seals are powerful and all, that still doesn't mean they are perfect. So, Sasuke would implant suggestions into all new employees to make sure he has their total loyalty, at least in regards to when it comes to things like money. Being the lawless world this is, even though not lawless, it is due to the ridiculous power a person could wield. The quote, "might makes right" applies perfectly here, even though it probably shouldn't, it does. I have a better way of manipulating and controlling the village than what Fugaku wanted to do. Having direct control over the money of the people would not only have people respect and fear one more. It will also make sure the people are slowly twirled around my fingers. Sasuke thought to himself. Soon enough, the entirety of the people who have made Konohigakyo their residence have started to place the funds they earn within the bank, adopting the system Sasuke had set up. Technology-wise is the application of special seals made accordingly with a person, encoded into their chakra so that only they may access their accounts. Another thing is for businesses, whereupon they may accept paper fan bank cards. It was a slow process, but soon enough this bank had become a sole operator of the finances within the village. Or at least it had become so in the matter of months for the villagers, as the ninja within still didn't accept going into it. Well, the civilian ninja that had no greater backing decided to use this service to their advantage. Past that, paper fan assistance as a group was being directly controlled by Sasuke. Even the bank setup, with no regulations, is officially under control of the group, controlled by Sasuke. If I remember correctly, the current fire daimyo is to be replaced by someone called Ikkyuu Madoka, whom is a business-oriented person. Sasuke knew that his path didn't lay in the direction of the Hokage, and instead in another if he wanted power of that sort. There would be less opposition that way, and most importantly I can become in line for succession, as it would seem the next fire daimyo is to be chosen among a certain group of people. After all, the current fire daimyo only had a wife, another younger, female relative and no one else in line for the position. Enough about that aside, I should focus on increasing my control over the economy first, then I will start thinking about stuff like that. For now, Sasuke is safe to control paper fan bank without influence from others, but he had been painfully aware of Danza starting to mention his business activities more and more to the current Hokage. After all, banks are usually owned by the government and the services Sasuke is providing kind of directly interferes with such things. But, Sasuke's initiative has already been more than enough to start stabilizing the rocky economy of Konohigakyo somewhat. Opening up new stores and branching outside of Konoha was difficult, but necessary. There are just too many services that can come under one bank, so obviously different departments would be and are opened up to help with all manners of the economy. I can't hold on to this banking system for long, but I have made the system only accessible, uniquely by myself and those that have accounts with the paper fan bank. So no matter who or what wants from the Uchiha, my mother would be unable to provide. They could always go through her to get to me, but at the same time I don't mind giving this system up and having it merge into the government. After all, I will sooner or later become the ruler of these lands, and having a better economy would always be better. Sasuke finished his thoughts, already having come to terms with probably giving up this establishment. Either way, there are many bank types and Sasuke could always persuade those higher up into making their own type of bank themselves. Too bad I got to it first. Forehead. No pig. Two voices called out to each other as they appeared within a training grounds, and there just so happened to be a third person present watching the two girls have a small match of taijutsu against each other. It was my turn to sit next to Sasuke. Ino called out as she threw a fist, only to be blocked instead by Sakura. I don't care. The early bird gets the worm. Sakura replied, going in for a small roundhouse kick, but was blocked by Ino. Ino is a fair-skinned woman of average height with light blue eyes and long, platinum blonde hair with bangs framing the right side of her face. As a young child, her hair was short. Ino did grow it out wanting to impress Sasuke, however that changed once she heard his words and decided to become more serious in her training. Ino cropped her hair to shoulder length, often keeping it up in a bun. Ino regularly wears a purple outfit consisting of a high-collared blouse and matching apron skirt. She sports this attire with bandages on her abdomen and legs, and small hoop earrings. Sakura has fair skin, green eyes, and pink hair. In her youth, she wore her hair as bangs in order to cover her large forehead and fend off her classmates calling her forehead girl. Ino encouraged her not to do this and wear her hair back instead, so that others could see her face. In her academy career she let her hair get longer because of rumors that Sasuke was attracted to girls with long hair. Which if Sasuke was asked his preference, he would probably agree with the rumors. However, Sasuke's direct words on his preference also changed her view as it did for Ino. She cuts her hair and keeps it under shoulder length from that point onward, which she sometimes pins up in a ponytail while working. Sakura wears a red chai-pao dress, at various times either with or without short sleeves, with slits along the sides accompanied by a zipper and white circular designs. She also wears tight dark green bike shorts with a shuriken holster around her right thigh, and blue sandals. Fighting, Ino and Sakura usually decided to settle things physically against each other in a match against each other, with Hinata staying back and watching these two jealous children fight each other. Didn't Sasuke say fighting like this is silly? Was Hinata's thoughts, given she is the most unlikely to try and confront these two about her own desires to get close to Sasuke. While Naruto had inspired her, it was Sasuke that had been the one to be there for her. Naruto hardly ever wanted to come over to Hinata's house. Sasuke on the other hand never minded coming over, which she appreciated a whole lot more. Hinata is a slender girl of fair complexion who, as a Hyuga, her most distinguishing trait is the Byakugan, giving her featureless white eyes. She has dark blue hair that she keeps in a I'm cut of different lengths where her hair is cut just above her forehead akin to a bowl cut with chin-length strands framing her face. Hinata usually wears a cream-colored hooded jacket with a fire symbol on the upper sleeves and fur around the cuffs and hem. She also wears navy blue pants. After a while, Ino and Sakura became tired enough that they both feel exhausted. Are you two all right? Hinata asked, having grown a lot more in terms of confidence, even after the death of her mother and subsequent looks of derision within the Hyuga clan. We are. Ino pigs right. We are. The two of them were panting and flat out near knocked each other out. Okay then. What do we have here? Another voice made itself known, instantly having all three girls turn around to identify the intruder. I guess these two are being stupid again, right Hinata? Sasuke showed up, his smile dangerous to the three girls' hearts. Sasuke. It was like all physical exhaustion had vanished, instead replaced with enthusiasm as Sasuke had showed up. What are you doing here? Sakura exclaimed. Am I not welcome? Sasuke asked, a small hint in his tone giving away hurt. Of course not. All three girls stated at the same time, including Hinata. Giving a small laugh, Sasuke responds. Look at all of your expressions. Anyway, I am here for your daily training. Looking between everyone's eyes however, Sasuke lifted up his eyebrow. That is unless you are all exhausted already. No. We are still ready to go. Sakura said. Yeah. Exactly. What forehead said? Ino gave her reply. While Hinata nodded her head, her face having gone red like a tomato ever since Sasuke had arrived. It would seem that you all aren't physically exhausted yet then. Of course the three girls realized their mistake in affirming training, especially when all three were tired. Even Hinata as well, for she did independent training as well. Sasuke's smirk at first may have been charming to all three of them, but that quickly changed into a smirk of evil at the mention of his training regimen. Let's begin, shall we?